I'll use Mom's study, Catherine said with a laugh. Then what am I supposed to do? You can work in the car. Tom made a shooing gesture at me. Got it. Saying that, I turned my back on the two of them. In other words, I am not needed. If that's the case, then I have my own plans. I bit my lip. Come to think of it, they've always done whatever they wanted. The only reason I could endure it was because I thought we were family. But to them, I was just a roommate. It seems like I don't need to be in this house. Then I don't have to put up with it either. I'll do things my way. Brace yourselves. Even if you regret it after losing everything, I'll never forgive you. I'll make you two experience the humiliation I've endured. My name's Emily. I'm 47 years old and work in the editorial department of a travel magazine. However, I go to the office about once a week. Most of the time, I get things done from my home computer. Simply put, I'm a remote worker. There's a reason why things turned out this way. My husband Tom, whom I married at 24, said this before we got married. I'm in sales and don't have time for housework, so I want you to be a full-time housewife. But I didn't want to quit the job I loved, so I transitioned to working from home. Then our daughter Catherine was born. Since then, I've been juggling child-rearing, housework, and work, and it is chaotic. Yet neither Tom nor Catherine understands. You're lucky you get to do whatever you want at home. Remote work is just a way to make pocket money, right? They both mock me like that. Why haven't I divorced them? I've thought that a lot since Catherine moved out. But when we first got married, Tom used to be considerate of me. It was that thoughtfulness that made me decide to marry him, but it didn't last long. 6 months after our marriage, Tom became absorbed in his hobbies. What are you doing? I'm working on the motorcycle. Tom looked up, covered in oil. His clothes were filthy and he seemed really focused. Motorcycles are fine, but please help with the housework too. I know. Tom said that with a laugh and started working on the motorcycle again. Our newlywed home was a house in the suburbs. The building was old, but it had a garage for motorcycles. That's why Tom made the decision immediately. Of course, the rent was cheap, so I thought it was a good place to live. But it's not that I have no regrets. Because of that garage, Tom started buying motorcycle parts one after another. Since I can keep them in the garage, it should be fine to buy them, right? Tom said that and bought more and more parts. The number of expensive parts gradually increased. Those expenses started to strain our household budget. Could you cut back a little? It's straining our household budget. Huh? It's my money that I earned, right? I can spend it however I want. I just wanted him to save a little, but that didn't get through to Tom. Every time I said something, Tom would push back. This repeated and our relationship gradually became strained. One day I suddenly felt a change in my health. Do I have a fever? It wasn't serious, but it was concerning. So I went to the hospital. The doctor's diagnosis was pregnancy. Joy and anxiety rushed over me at the same time. With my relationship with Tom so bad now, can I safely have this child? We might even get divorced. What should I do? With these worries, I told Tom about the pregnancy. Tom was overjoyed. From that day, Tom became like a different person. I'll do the shopping after work. I'll do the cleaning and laundry on my days off. He started doing everything for me. He never helped before, but now he's completely changed. My previous worries vanished like a lie. I regained a happy life. Eventually, Catherine was born. As soon as she was born, Tom started doting on her, ignoring me completely. But that affection might have been excessive. Catherine was spoiled by Tom and grew up selfish. She wouldn't listen to me, and if I got a little angry, she'd throw a tantrum. By the time she was in middle school, she completely stopped listening to me. Naturally, I complained to Tom. Don't spoil Catherine. Her recent selfishness is too much. Really? A child's selfishness is cute, isn't it? Tom's words irritated me. At that moment, Catherine came into the room. Are you jealous because you're not getting attention? Catherine laughed loudly. Tom joined in her laughter. I stood up to leave the room, feeling like running away. I have work to do. Catherine smirked. It's just pocket money from remote work, right? Good luck with that. It was too ridiculous to respond. I ignored Catherine and left the room. Immediately after, I could hear Catherine and Tom talking from the room. Hey, there's a dress I want. Alright, Dad will buy it for you. Yay! After all, Daddy's getting real money, right? I pretended not to hear. From then on, Tom didn't hold back at all. Tom buys Catherine anything she wants. He even seems to be secretly giving her pocket money. I'll endure it until Catherine becomes independent. Then I'll divorce Tom. That's what I was thinking. Eventually, Catherine graduated from high school and moved out, saying she wanted to become a hairdresser. Now I can be free. I started preparing for the divorce. Meanwhile, Tom's interest in motorcycles revived, and he occasionally went on touring trips. He's probably trying to fill the loneliness. Well, the money he used to spend on Catherine is just being spent on the motorcycle now. I plan to divorce him eventually. It's okay to let him have a bit of freedom. I tried not to interfere. One day on a holiday, Tom came to borrow my car. What do you need the car for? I'm going golfing with a colleague. Tom usually commutes by train. Also, his hobby is motorcycles and he rarely drives the car. So I bought the car, and I'm the one who drives it most of the time. Yet today he said he wanted to drive the car. Could he be going on a drive with a mistress? With that suspicion, after lending Tom the car, I ordered something online. A few days later, the order arrived. I hurriedly set it up in the car. After that, Tom started using the car frequently. Moreover, he always seemed eager to go out. So every time I suspected he was cheating, I'll confront him once I have proof. I whispered to myself and kept enduring. Time passed, and about a month went by. The reality of divorce was becoming more concrete. Since I work from home, I wasn't worried about money even if I got divorced, but I'm over 40 now. It's not strange to think I could stop working at any time. When I thought about it, I remembered my parents' house. My mother passed away a few years ago, and now it's basically vacant. The house itself is old, but it's still my property. If I rebuild that house, I might not have to worry about living. If I have a house, I'll manage somehow. That was something my late mother often told me. Remembering my mother's words, I immediately consulted Tom. I want to demolish my parents' house and build a new one. If you're paying for it, do whatever you want. Tom's indifferent attitude. Even so, I got his approval. I immediately took action. I searched for a home builder and requested the construction of the house. As a result, my life suddenly became busy. Just when the house was about to be completed, Catherine contacted me after a long time. Actually, I'm pregnant. Pregnant? Who's the father? His name is John. We filed the marriage papers, but John is busy with work. According to Catherine, her husband John is in a busy period at work, so he can't come to greet us. Moreover, Catherine is already pregnant. She felt uneasy about being alone, so she wanted to come back home to have us with her. No matter how selfish she is, Catherine is my dear daughter. I couldn't tell her not to come back. Reluctantly, I agreed to let her come back home. Eventually, my house was completed. When we moved in, Catherine also returned. After looking around the house, Catherine asked me, "There aren't many rooms. Where should I stay?" "Use the guest room. It's not big, but it's fine for sleeping." "I don't have my own room? And in a brand new house?" Catherine pouted. While I was exasperated, Catherine laughed and said, "All right then, I'll use Mom's study." "Then where am I supposed to work during the day?" Tom interrupted as I asked back. "You can stay in the car during the day." Tom made a shooing gesture at me. "Got it." Saying that, I turned my back on the two of them. In other words, I'm not needed. If that's the case, then I have my own plans. I bit my lip. Come to think of it, they've always done whatever they wanted. The only reason I could endure it was because I thought we were a family, but to them, I was just a roommate. It seems like I don't need to be in this house. Then I don't have to put up with it either. I'll do things my way. Brace yourselves. Even if you regret it after losing everything, I'll never forgive you. I'll make you too experience the humiliation I've endured. Besides, I'm already prepared for the divorce. This is a perfect opportunity. I'll leave the house right now. At this moment, I resolved to get a divorce. I went back to my room and packed a change of clothes in a bag. With the bag in hand, I returned to Tom and Catherine. "You don't need luggage to work in the car." "I need it because I'm leaving." "Leaving?" Tom's eyes widened in surprise. I handed him the divorce papers I had. "Here, sign this." Divorce papers? What, you want a divorce?" "Sleeping in the car would be better than staying with you." I yelled at Tom. For a moment, Tom flinched, but he quickly smirked. What? You're just all talk, right? Fine, I'll sign it." Tom snatched the divorce papers and signed them on the spot. "Finally getting a divorce, huh? Well, I don't need a nagging mom either." Catherine smirked. Apparently neither Tom nor Catherine understood their situation. I smiled. "Catherine, if we get divorced, you won't be able to live like you used to." "Huh? That supports the household, right? What are you talking about?" "You really have no idea, do you?" I laughed and showed Catherine my smartphone. "Look closely. Do you know what this is?" "Huh? What is it?" "It's our household budget. See where it says loan repayment?" I tapped the screen. Catherine leaned in to see the screen. "All of this debt is yours." "Huh? I didn't borrow any money." Catherine fumed. "No, you didn't borrow it. Your dad borrowed it for you." "What? Dad did?" Catherine's eyes widened as she looked back at Tom. Tom looked away. "Your dad spoiled you, didn't he? All the money you spent, it was all debt." "No way, that's not true, right, Dad?" Catherine confronted Tom. But Tom just looked away, avoiding her gaze. Catherine was shocked by Tom's silent affirmation. I pressed on. "So most of your dad's salary goes to that debt. Then what about living expenses?" "It's covered by the salary you mocked, mine. From now on, enjoy your life with your debt-ridden dad." Catherine turned pale. She clung to me suddenly. Wait, Mom, what about my living expenses here?" "Ask your dad." "But he doesn't have any money. That's impossible." Catherine probably thought she could live a luxurious life at home, but in reality she was going to live with her debt-ridden father. She must have felt utterly hopeless. "Well then, you two have fun together." Saying that, I left the house. I went to a net cafe and decided to stay there for the time being. I had the divorce papers. All I needed now was someone to negotiate the terms. I searched online for a lawyer. I also rented a weekly apartment for the time being. Taking a breath, I thought about the future. Tom and Catherine were probably fighting over the debt, but that alone wasn't enough for me. What could be a good plan? While browsing online, an ad caught my eye. At that moment, I whispered, "Sell the house. That's it." I immediately contacted the real estate agency from the ad. A few days later, on a holiday, I returned home with the real estate agent I had contacted. When I rang the doorbell, Catherine answered. "What are you doing here? Is that how you speak to your mother?" "Mother, once you're divorced, you're not my mother," Catherine shouted. She was clearly holding a grudge over the living expenses. Ignoring Catherine, I stepped into the house. Catherine noticed the real estate agent behind me. "Wait a minute, who are those people?" "They're from a real estate agency." "Real estate agency?" Catherine looked puzzled. I smiled and said firmly, "I'm selling this house. They're here to appraise it." "What? Selling the house?" Catherine shouted loudly. Finally, Tom came rushing out. "What's wrong, Catherine? Why are you shouting?" "She's saying she's going to sell the house." "She? Huh." I felt annoyed but bit my lip to keep calm. Tom glanced at me and then quickly noticed the real estate agent behind me. He started to get angry. "What do you think you're doing? Don't you dare make decisions on your own." Tom pointed a finger in my face, shouting. I pushed his finger away and responded calmly, "I'm the one who decided to sell the house. You have no right to interfere." "Don't be ridiculous. If you do anything without my consent, I'll sue you." "It's pointless. The house is in my name." Tom was at a loss for words. Catherine, trembling, asked Tom, "Is the house really in her name, not yours?" "Well, what? You never told me." Tom and Catherine started arguing. I ignored them and guided the real estate agent further inside. "Please go ahead with the appraisal." After saying that to the real estate agent, I returned to Tom and Catherine. They were still arguing. "You're getting divorced, right? Get the house as compensation." "That's a bit—" "Why not?" As Catherine shouted, I intervened. "That's not possible. I have no fault here." "Shut up!" Catherine pushed me aside. Enraged, I shouted at Catherine, "Enough! Your father is the one who has to pay compensation." "Huh? It's just a divorce after a fight, right? It's not like anyone is at fault." "The divorce is because of your father's infidelity. The recent fight was just a trigger, right? So I'll sue him for the distress he caused me." I glared at Tom, and he looked down. Catherine stood there, looking puzzled. "The truth is, he's been cheating on me for a long time. That's why I had been considering a divorce." "Cheating? Isn't that just your imagination?" Catherine laughed dismissively. Meanwhile, Tom was sweating nervously. To drive the point home, I placed an envelope on the table. "I prepared these materials to discuss the divorce." I took out photos from the envelope. The photos showed Tom talking to an unknown woman in my car. "Cheating in my car, it's pathetic. Your lack of caution left evidence." What is this? How did you—" Tom was stunned. "It's simple. The dashcam recorded it." "Dashcam? Oh, you didn't know? Dashcams can record inside the car too." I I know that, but nowadays it's common knowledge that dashcams capture not just the front and rear views, but also the interior of the car. That's why I used it. When I first lent Tom the car, I suspected his infidelity, so I bought the latest dashcam online and installed it in the car. As a result, I was able to capture his cheating. So I printed it out. Do you have any excuses?" No, I mean, Tom stammered, unable to form words. Feeling victorious, I asked Tom, as for compensation, let's say $30,000? Is that alright? I can't pay that much. You can sell your bike. If you refuse, it's off to divorce mediation or court. Tom slumped his shoulders and muttered, Right. While we were talking, the real estate agent finished appraisal and left. Well then, I'll be going. I stood up quietly. At that moment, Catherine, who had been silent, spoke up. Wait, I won't allow you to sell the house. Even if you don't agree, the sale is already decided. Shut up, I'm not leaving. Catherine threw a tantrum like a child and ran into her room. I sighed, too exasperated to speak. Then I addressed Tom, who was slumped over. Anyway, I've informed you about the house sale. The deadline is next Saturday, so be out by then. Wait, please reconsider. Tom suddenly started to grovel. No way. I won't stop the divorce or the house sale. Please reconsider. We won't be able to live like this. That's not my problem. Do as you please. I turned my back on Tom and walked quickly towards the entrance. Tom chased after me, shouting, What pleasure do you get from doing this? It's not about pleasure. I just want revenge for your cheating. I smiled smugly. Tom fell silent. I reminded Tom firmly. Don't forget, the moving deadline is Saturday. Tom nodded quietly. The next day, I started moving out my remaining belongings from the house. Catherine still looked dissatisfied. One last time, I reminded Catherine of the moving deadline. Catherine turned her face away. What kind of revenge should I plan next? While I was thinking about that, Saturday came, and by the time it turned into Sunday, my phone rang suddenly as I was sleeping. Hello? I answered the phone groggily. Suddenly, Catherine's loud voice echoed. What did you do? Huh? Catherine? Surprised, I sat up in bed. Catherine kept shouting. The house suddenly went dark. This is your doing, isn't it? I thought for a moment and asked Catherine, You didn't move out, did you? Of course not. I don't agree with selling the house. I see. At that moment, I understood why Catherine was angry. After deciding to sell the house, I naturally canceled the utility contracts. There needed to be some time for the cancellation to take effect, so I set the contracts to end on Saturday. Typically, even after canceling, the utilities wouldn't be cut off immediately. Usually, workers come during the day after the cancellation to disconnect the services, but my house had a smart meter for electricity. It could be turned off remotely, so the electricity was cut off the moment the date changed. So the electricity is off because I canceled the contract. You can't use it anymore. What? Are you kidding me? Catherine started shouting again. I distanced the phone from my ear, pretending not to notice. After a while, when Catherine had calmed down, I spoke to her again. It can't be helped. The house has been sold. What are we supposed to do? We can't live without electricity. Catherine threw another tantrum, so I spoke to her like a child. It's because you didn't listen. And if you make a fuss, the neighbors will call the police. Call the police? Catherine tilted her head in confusion. When I moved out, I had informed the neighbors about the house being sold, so to the neighbors, our house was already an empty property. If someone made noise there, it would be natural to think it was a burglar. And all Catherine had for light would be her phone, making it even more suspicious. So you should leave quickly. As I was saying that, Catherine screamed. I also heard Tom shouting. They must have been reported to the police, thinking that I hung up the phone. After getting dressed, I rushed to the house and, as expected, found Catherine and Tom being detained by police officers. I'm sorry for the trouble their family, but we're getting a divorce. I bowed to the police officers. I also apologized to the neighbors who had come out because of the commotion. When I looked back, Catherine and Tom were fighting again. It's your fault for cheating, Dad. You got kicked out for cheating too. They were just like each other. They continued their shameless argument. I haven't been caught yet. It's just suspicion. As Catherine shouted that, a man intervened. Catherine, so you were cheating. The man was Catherine's husband, John, who had come to pick her up. John, no, it's not like that. Catherine tried to make excuses, but it was too late. In the end, the commotion ended with them publicly admitting their infidelities. After that, Tom and I divorced, and Catherine and John also divorced. Catherine had to pay compensation to John, but Catherine had no money and was pregnant. Tom, who was also in debt, couldn't help her. In the end, Tom sold his motorcycle to pay the compensation to both John and me. Moreover, at Tom's company, he had a dispute with his mistress. Although Tom denied it, the rumors spread and he ended up quitting his job. Afterward, Tom and Catherine moved to a small apartment to save money. I heard Tom was doing part-time jobs to make ends meet. As for me, I canceled the house sale. Of course, there was a fee, but it was covered by the compensation from Tom. It's a waste not to live in the house I built. So now I'm enjoying living alone in the new house. For now, I'm fine being alone, thinking that I continue to work leisurely in my new room.